Yes, I think we've got the green light for a November move, a 25 basis points move. But services sector inflation, yes, it's come down and maybe it's below forecast, but it's still a long way above 2%. It's still uncomfortably high. And so the question, I think, rather the uncertainty is there enough really to see a second 25 basis points cut this year? And at the moment, perhaps not. I think we need to see perhaps more labour market loosening because, yes, we saw wage inflation come down in yesterday's report. But even that, it's still quite high. The labour market is still quite tight. So 25 basis points in November, yes. I think there is a green light for that. But I'm just not so certain yet about whether or not there is enough signs that inflation genie is back in its box to signal that they can pick up the pace. And, of course, that's in contrast with a number of other central banks right now.
Right, yes. And yes, it's interesting, isn't it, to contrast across the Atlantic, the conversations around whether inflation, has been underestimated in the US a little bit, whereas here in Europe we seem to be talking about this inflation, green light for rate cutters. In terms of the broader story then in the UK, of course we're waiting for the budget. How does the budget link into your expectations around the Bank of England?
I think the budget is crucial because I do sense that in the way up to the July general election in the UK and afterwards there was a sense of optimism, a sense that the Chancellor understood the need for investment in the UK in order to raise productivity and growth. But, of course, the Chancellor is very much confined by the fact that debt as a percentage of GDP is close to 100% of GDP. We know that tax cuts are coming, tax rises are coming. We know that investors are concerned about the capital gains tax potentially and potentially also about an employer's national insurance contribution. And so what sort of line is the Chancellor going to walk between trying to boost risk appetite and actually tax potential investors? So we know it's a difficult way, and I do sense that honeymoon period that we had, this optimistic period that we had around about the election, has really begun to sour. And I think it's the onus is really on the government now to try and keep that optimism up. So yes, I think sterling can still outperform the euro, largely on the euro's woes. But I do think that cable is going to struggle to get back to the highs that it was at just a few weeks ago.